Hey guys, welcome to my lane tier list video. Again, we're gonna make two tier lists, one for solo queue, one for pre-mating. This time we're gonna have some bit different categories. We have the 1v9 carries, the one you can pretty much always pick and have a chance of just carrying the game with. Then we have some solid laners who I think are actually not bad at laning and especially also work good in solo queue. Then we have a list or like a category where if your team is good, your character is very strong. This doesn't mean that these characters are bad. The characters are super good, but they still require certain teammates to step it up. Then we have a list where they can work, and then we have a Gardevoir tier to round it up. I should start with the 1v9 carries. Actually, we just go down the Pokemon list. First up is Venusaur. Venusaur is still one of the best carries in the game, has a good laning phase, and has carry potential. One of the best solo queue characters there is. Gengar, I'm going to put in Gardevoir here. You have to be very good at Gengar to make him work in lane. And that's just because someone is good at a character doesn't make the character good, right? But there's obviously certain character or certain people that can make Gengar work in lane. But just, yeah, for the majority of the people, he's just going to be absolutely useless. Mr. Mime, one of the best solo queue characters there is, in my opinion. Let me guess now, it's my most played character. And yeah, very good laning phase, very good early, mid-game, late game. A lot of damage, a lot of CC. Can spam his ultimate on cooldown, which means he can look for a lot of pickoffs, engage a lot of team fights. Very strong. So now it's the first strong if your team is good, which I'm going to put SOLOQ in. SOLOQ, insane laning phase, provides good CC. But again, if you don't have someone that, you're not someone that finishes off, you set up your team. But if your team is good, it's still fine. So if you want to play a tank, that, if you just gamble if your team is good or not, SOLOQ can for sure make your teammates or help out to victory for sure. Then we have Gardevoir added to the Gardevoir tier. That's all I'm gonna mention more. And now this is already like a bit controversial, but I've been playing a lot of lane up soil. This is also like kind of like Gengar, I guess. If you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of bad. But honestly, I think because this character is very strong at level 5, it's also very cheesy from level 1 to 4 if you get some crits in. It can definitely work in lane. I've had a lot of success with it. And yeah, honestly, I really don't think it's bad for solo queue. Absol does seem not too bad right now. And yeah, but again, you have to know what you're doing still. It's a pretty hard character to play. You kill people very fast, but you also die very fast, so gotta watch out for that. I'm gonna put Garchomp in Gardevoir tier. I know Potato Uwu, he is the best Garchomp player there is, I swear. He makes this character work, but I think most people won't make this character work in lane. That's just how it is. And still lacking some. I mean, I guess I could put him probably up here. But yeah, no. Just don't do it. Just don't do it unless your name is Potato Uwu, okay? Lucario, still one of the best laners in the game. Insane potential, can just stomp lanes like it's nothing, and yeah, still easily in the 1v9 carry department for laning. Then we have Crustle. Crustle as well, like he's not a traditional 1v9 carry, like he doesn't kill anything, but he can make so much map pressure happen that you kind of like forced to maybe do a Zapdos at some point, or he forces the enemy team to do a Zapdos, and he just forces you to pay attention to him 24/7, and if your team starts chasing him around the entire map, his team also gets a lot of more value from it. So yeah, very, very strong solo queue character, very annoying to deal with, and the Crustle player knows what he's doing. Absolute pain to deal with. Next up, Greninja. Honestly, I was debating between these two and Greninja. Honestly, I think he can work in lane just because Water Shuriken is a pretty early power spec on level 7. If you get to it, it's very, very strong. His laning phase is still pretty weak. I still wouldn't recommend necessarily doing it, but I think if you want to play like an auto-tech based range carry in lane, it's probably only Greninja that can work, and yeah. So Cinderace as an example, I'm gonna put it out in Gardevoir tier. Has no last hitting potential, is very weak early game, very easily killable, needs a bit for power spikes, and this is probably the most overplayed character in lane in my games that I see, and I wish people would stop playing Cinderace in lane. Just don't do it. If you fall a bit behind, you're gonna be useless the entire game. And since you don't have any last hitting potential, if you play against anything that has like kill pressure or last hit pressure, you're just not gonna have a good time. Talonflame, on the other hand, I think is a character that can work in lane. He's similar to Absol, where he can be very cheesy, and as long as you get to level 7 in lane, he's still pretty good. But then again, yeah, you can also get bullied very hard and die very easily if you are underleveled, but yeah, I think he can work in lane if you want to play SOLOQ Talonflame in lane. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's nothing that's super terrible. Charizard, I think, is in the same boat as all of these. The problem is, like, he's similar to Greninja, where I think it's fine. He has some good range and some early power spikes, especially level 5 Flamethrower is a very good power spike. Just doesn't have any good sitting potential. And it just, so these characters just work if the opponents also have bad lanes, right? Let's say you are a Charizard into a Cinderace, or a Greninja into a Cinderace, or Talonflame into a Cinderace, or Gardevoir. Suddenly your character works, right? Suddenly you can lane. But as soon as you play against a Mr. Mime, a Lucario, a Snorlax, a Wigglytuff, you're just not gonna have a good time, as an example. But, so, like, this tier kind of works if the opponents have a bad lane, these characters can work. If the opponents have a very strong lane, they don't work. Very straightforward. Zeraora, I think, is similar to Absol. Pretty cheesy early game, has very, very early game high damage, and in general, it just skates very well. Even on lane, you can just, at some point, just farm and invade a lot, and you will get to late game eventually, and I mean, all you need is discharge, right? As soon as you get discharge in your ultimate, you do a lot of damage, even if you're a bit behind in levels, so definitely works. Alright, next up, Eldegoss. So I used to put Eldegoss in here, but I mean, I think Eldegoss is an insanely strong character also for solo queue, but again, you still require certain teammates to step it up. You don't 1v9 carry with Eldegoss, for sure not, unless you steal every single Dreadnought and steal the Zapdos, which Eldegoss can, has very good objective steal potential, and in general, very strong team fighting. So Absol, yeah, I'm just gonna put it though in the strong if your team is good here, just because supports are, you know, a bit questionable if you don't have damage, raw damage to just finish someone off. Carry potential is obviously not always there. Cramorant. Now, Cramorant is a solid laner, but yeah, he also kind of requires a team. Like, he would also be somewhere in between these two, right? He's a very, very good laner, but he doesn't really have big carry potential at some point. If your team doesn't help you set up, like, he's very similar to the next two characters I'm gonna show as well. Probably the weakest one of those. Let's just put them in there. Ninetales and Pikachu. I would say they are the same. They're insanely strong laners, right? Insanely strong laners. But they just need a team to help them kill the NDC. Even though I think Ninetales is pretty strong now. Ninetales does a lot of damage pretty easily as well. But still doesn't 1v9 carry games, I would say. Like, these characters just have insane carry potential. But still, I mean, solid laners doesn't mean these characters are bad. Solid laners mean these characters are very good in lane. I honestly just put them in front of this and just put them in the back. I think this fits it a bit more. I would put as a Ninetales like a high A tier. And yeah. Same for Pikachu. I think Pikachu for sure has potential. Even in solo queue, you just are very vulnerable, right? Like, the problem with these three characters, they die to the meta characters. They die to Lucario very fast. They die to Zeraora, they die to Talonflame jungle. Like, these characters are so vulnerable to it that I just can't put them up here. These characters are all kind of tanky and have some ways of dealing with a lot of burst coming through them, while these characters just no mobility, very low HP pool. But yeah, very strong laners, doesn't matter what. So if you have a decent lane partner, you can sometimes dominate the lane absolutely hard. Blastoise, also still pretty good, I would say, as a laner. Has good last hitting potential, has early good power spikes, still has good CC. Yeah, I think Blastoise is still a very solid character, especially for solo queue. If you feel like you want to play a more frontline character, he's not in this tier because he actually does damage. I often have top damage as Blastoise and set up so many kills that I can even do on my own. So, honestly, solid laner. Wigglytuff is the same as these. Wigglytuff, if you don't have a team that follows up your stuff, it's kind of weak, but overall the character is still very, very strong. Very insane CC. If you combine like a Wigglytuff with a Ninetales or Wigglytuff with a Mime Lucario in lane, absolutely very, very difficult to play against. And yeah. Next up we have Slowbro. I mean, honestly, Slowbro's not a bad laner, but it's just obviously doesn't really carry games. I still don't want to put him in here because I think he can actually be kind of useful. He has still a good ultimate, and yeah. There's not much more to say. I think he's okay. He's like somewhere between here. Machamp. I think Machamp is like a lower A tier. He does work in lane. You just need level 5. He has okay last hitting potential with Karate Chop early game. It's not the worst. but also obviously not the best. He's like kind of similar to Absol and Zaora. If he gets to level 5, he's very strong. Doesn't matter if you go dynamic punch or submission. A lot of kill pressure up to level 5, and yeah. For sure can work in lane, and I mean, I've played a lot of lane Machamp as well. I think it's not the worst. Blissey goes into the support here, strong for your team is good. I think Blissey is an insanely overpowered character, but again, if you don't have a team, then what are you safeguarding, right? But still a very strong character. And Mamoswine, so Mamoswine is like very hard to rank because he's actually a very good laner, but he doesn't carry games, right? I'm just gonna put him down next to Slowbro. I think those are kind of similar. Like Mamoswine has better laning phase, while Slowbro is better late game. But I mean, yeah, they just don't carry games. So maybe they should actually just be down here, because they're not good solo queue characters, right? Like this is meant for solo queue if you want to win solo queue games, and these just don't win solo queue games. So I'm actually just gonna put them down here. Sylveon is also still just a very solid laner. I do think she can 1v9 carry games. Still, with Hyper Voice, if you play it well. I'm still gonna put them in ST and solo queue. The bigger part why Sylveon is higher than Ninetales or Pikachu as an example is because she has some ways of dealing with Talonflames and other things. Has a bit more mobility, but sadly doesn't offer any CC, but I think if you play Sylveon where you can still do a lot of on her, maybe just put her above here, just put her in higher A tier. I think that fits it well. Decidueye, absolutely terrible in lane. I'm not gonna order these in rank, I think, right? They're just, yeah. Decidueye, terrible in lane. Shouldn't be played. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. This character is similar to Cinderace. It needs too long to get his abilities, and he just doesn't have any last hitting potential. I mean, Leavage is okay, it's okay damage, but you don't do damage if you're same level. And you're also very easily gankable, you have no escapes. If you overextend once a bit, you just get ganked by the jungler that's 2-3 levels above you, and you're just gonna get, yeah, you just die. You just die very, very fast. And then Greedent, I think Greedent is still a solid laner. Still very annoying to deal with. And if you play him well, you can still do a lot of things. Put him somewhere here. So yeah, I would say this is my solo queue lane tier list. And take it in for a moment. Take it in for a moment. And then we move on to the pre-made tier list. The pre-made lane tier list. Let me reset this. And this time I'm just gonna do it from S to D. I think that makes more sense. So this is a tier list for pre-mates. It doesn't matter if it's duo queue, triple queue, or, you know, 5-man stacking. This is still the same for laning as well. S tier, Venusaur, Gengar, absolutely terrible. Mr. Mime, S tier, Snorlax. I think Snorlax is somewhere between here as well. I'm just gonna put him in A tier. I think he's just a bit outclassed by Mr. Mime right now, but I don't think he's necessarily terrible. Gardevoir, D tier. And now like Absol in pre-mates is just, you know, I don't think they work as well. These characters like Talonflame, Absol just have a hard time when it comes to dealing with lanes that are actually strong as well. So if you face pre-mates yourself, you might find yourself struggling more on these characters. So Talonflame doesn't work either anymore. I wouldn't recommend playing it. Garchomp also doesn't work. Lucario is still S tier. I think Cross is still a solid A tier in pre-mates as well. It's just Lucario dominates the top lane most often. But I think Cross, if you play with a team and communicate what you're doing, can do quite a lot too. Greninja in lane, absolutely terrible. Charizard, absolutely terrible in lane. I think Zaora is still a solid A tier as well. Even in pre-mates. If you play with a strong lane partner, you can do quite a lot of things. This character is just so busted. It doesn't matter if in jungle or lane, this character is just busted. That's way too much damage. Lane Cinderace is also terrible. Eldegoss easily S tier in pre-mates. Absolutely strong character. Cramorant. I mean, again, I just had him in... I mean, my last tier list about solo queue was not really from S to D. It was more like categorizing them as what they can do in solo queue. So in pre-mates, Cramorant has fallen off quite a bit. I wouldn't really recommend playing him any longer. Pikachu is S tier currently in laning, one of the strongest bottom attack laners. I think Ninetales I'm going to also move to S tier now. got some good buffs. They've also fixed her. They fixed her passive or her special attack scalings that were wrong last patch. So she actually does quite a lot of damage now. And if you play, let's say, this, I'm gonna put Wigglytuff also into S tier. If you play Wigglytuff, Ninetales, and Premates, absolutely insane lane to deal with. Even if you just do Q and play this in a lane, you can absolutely destroy a lane insanely hard. Also very good in 1-1-3, Wigglytuff and Ninetales together in the same team. Does quite a lot. Blastoise. I mean, Blastoise doesn't really have a space in Premates, but he's still a solid character, so I'm gonna put him into A tier. Slowbro. I think Slowbro and Premates is a solid B tier. But Champion lane, yeah, doesn't really work anymore either as much. Don't think he's as bad as these characters down here, because he's still pretty useful after level 5, but yeah, not good laning when the opponents are good. Blissey, S tier, especially like do Q, triple Q, Blissey is absolutely insane. If you have good lane partners and a good carry, like let's say you do Q with a jungler that plays Cinderace or Decidueye or Greninja, and you play Blissey on bot lane or something, and you just at some point just safeguard your teammate over and over again, and you know that he's a good player because you queue up with him, you can make him quite strong. Sylveon, what's just the S tier? Maybe that's too many in S tier, but you know, these are just the strongest pre-made lane characters there are. You obviously just get to choose whatever you prefer playing. Greedent, I'm just gonna put in, I think Greedent is like similar to Crustle. Can still do a lot of things. Mamoswine next to Slowbro. I think Slowbro and Mamoswine always go hand in hand. Even though Mamoswine can see play in pre-mates for sure. Very strong early game, and if the enemies like don't pay attention to it, he can be very cheesy and snowball games, but he just fights off so hard that late game teamfights become very, very hard to win with Mamoswine. And Decidueye, absolutely terrible laner. Wouldn't recommend playing. So this is my opinion on general premates, or like, you know, how characters look in premates. Again, and if you play duo Q, triple Q, or just 5-man Q, or these work. Again, this is for lane. This has nothing to do with jungle. This is just purely which Pokemon are good in laning and can abuse their power to win lanes. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment or like and subscribe. And again, if you ever have any questions about how I rate certain characters, you can always come into my stream as well or leave a comment on YouTube. I pretty much read every single comment, and if I feel like I need to answer something, I will as well. So don't be afraid to leave a comment if you have a question left. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.